I know we said we weren't going to, but do you want to talk about the new items? We're only like 23 minutes into the episode.
I would love to. I have opinions about all of these. So
we're just talking about the two, Hullbreaker and Anathema's chains, I'm assuming, are the two?
Yes, yeah.
Because the third one doesn't have the support item doesn't have stats yet, I believe, right?
I think it has stats. I don't think it has the effect.
Yeah,
you did the gold calculation for it on stream.
Yeah. I did do that.
So
yeah,
cool. Let's talk about it. Which one do you want to talk about first?
Let's talk about the chains, which I'm gonna call Anathema's chains. Or do you have a better pronunciation for it?
I'm just gonna say chains.
Chains, yeah. A-chains, as we like to call it.
I know how to pronounce that word.
What do you think about this item in general? So it is a 650 health item with 20 ability haste, and its active is choose a nemesis to start building a vendetta over 60 seconds with a 90-second cooldown. So when your vendetta takes up to 30% reduced damage, you take up to 30% reduced damage from your nemesis, 1% per vendetta stack. And when it's fully stacked, your nemesis has 20% reduced tenacity while near you.
So I think my first takeaway is 30% damage reduction is a lot. And it seems to be permanent against that target unless you switch after 1 minute. Mm-hmm. Which also seems like a really low requirement to proc fully. I wish that were an active that had an increased effect for a much shorter time.
Yeah.
Excuse me. To I don't know, to allow for more skill expression and not rely on just numbers being really high to counter high damage. I think that can be changed though, and I'm kind of fine with that mechanic overall. Like I said, I think 30% is a little too high, but if it were like 25, 2015, like around that area, I think it would be a little more fine. Because I was gonna say, just purely looking at it from a gold efficiency perspective, you can't obviously calculate ability haste efficiency because ability haste has different gold values based on your character with your cooldowns, yada yada yada. Yeah. But the health portion of it isn't very gold efficient, right? Like it is like a 60% gold efficient item without its passive, without the ability haste, which obviously ability haste could be a very efficient stat. But to me, I look at it and I go, hey, this is not a very gold efficient thing. You're literally just getting health and cooldown reduction stat wise for 2,500 gold, right? Meaning in my mind, and I think the way that Riot's trying to push this item is you don't build this item every game. This is not a core item on any character in the game. This is an item that you go, oh fuck, this person's gonna solo win the game. We need to have something to make them get CC'd for longer, to make me not get blown up by them, yada yada yada. And I feel like this item, hopefully with its intention of not being built every game, is something that you can pick up in those scenarios where it feels like this character is going to 1v9 the game. Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. I think it might. I mean, it's hard to say without actually seeing numbers for build path and things like that. I think it might be core on obviously characters with a lot of CC that don't necessarily need gold efficient items. I think Leona, Alistair, Nautilus kind of come to mind. Yeah. Where like just having access to that much crowd control and all they truly need is just health. I think is kind of the only characters I could see it being core on every game. But it's also really like expensive for supports to afford. Yeah. After, Mythic, after boots, because I don't think it's going to be anyone's first item. Like I don't think that's the case. Sorry, go ahead. I was gonna say, I would also like to see the range that the tenacity reduction is. Yeah. Because we know that you can activate it globally, which is a little weird. I think that's just, like, not that that's a big deal, but like in theory, you could buy it on support and click on their top laner while you're bottom lane, and then by the time you get to the dragon fight a minute later, it's fully charged, which is a little weird to me. But hey, I mean, even if you do it against your lane, you buy it in base, activated on your laner, and then 30 seconds have gone by and you have 15% damage reduction against them. Yeah, like by the time you get to lane. I think that's a little strange. I'm assuming the idea for that is you can't be in combat while doing it. So walking into lane, in theory, someone could like start fighting you immediately, and you're never able to proc it, which I understand is maybe the intention, but it feels weird casting an item like this globally on an enemy. That being said, I think the range for the tenacity reduction is a huge point of contention here, right? Because if it is like 500 range,
then it means you have to be on top of them for them to get tenacity reduction, right? Where if it's like 1500 range, then that's like an Ezreal Q.5, right? Where like as long as you're in a fight, they're gonna have tenacity reduction. But if you have to be like melee range of them, I think this item is like way less oppressive. Because I don't think the numbers are anywhere on the PV. I didn't see anything when I was looking earlier, but maybe you have them.
Yeah, so it takes 60 seconds to fully stack.
Yep.
It counts as a legendary, and the tenacity range is 500, around 500.
Okay. So that's interesting, right? Because that's the average attack range of characters. So it means you at least have to probably be the one applying the CC for it to have the tenacity effect. Because I saw people like jerking off about the fact that in theory Morgana can build this. And
exactly, yeah.
Morgana can build this plus ability haste, and then she can just queue people on cooldown and they can never move, right? But
you
that
have to be within 500 range of them.
Yeah, Morgana has to be halfway through her Q range to be able to do that, which I don't think very many Morganas want to do, for example. So like that alone, I think will limit it to like kind of bruisery characters or tanks and stuff like that, which feels like the characters it's probably meant for rather than like someone to make their CC longer.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a good choice by Riot. I don't necessarily like the tenacity reduction itself. I think it probably should only... It shouldn't drop you negative, I think is the big issue that I have with it. Excuse me, I'm sorry. It should probably like drop to 0 and only reduce tenacity if that value is greater than 1.
Yeah.
I don't think characters should be buying it to extend their CC combo.
Yeah.
Right. You should be, which is what currently people are talking about it. Like I've only seen people saying like fucking Leona loves this item. Nautilus loves this item because they have a lot of CC and can extend it, which isn't wrong. You know, I would agree with that. But at the same time, I think it shouldn't drop below negative, which wouldn't increase your CC against 80 carries for the most part, in general. And then I think it's kind of good otherwise.
I do think a lot of, not to like shit on people, but a lot of the general community who's like of the average ELO, people try to look for stuff like that, the goofy things that they think will happen in games. I know that happened a lot with remember what was the green item called? The one that lowered your cooldowns other than your ultimate when you auto attack.
Like Spear of Shojin?
Spear of Shojin, yeah. Like I as a Tom Kench main, every single fucking post on the subreddit when that item came out was, oh my god, if you do this build with Spear of Shojin, you can have infinite CC on your Q. It's like, yeah, and that build was never good because it's a gimmicky thing that you have to have so many things go right? I just think that a lot of like stuff, the people who are thinking like, oh my god, I'm going to build this as a way to increase my CC are thinking about the item in the wrong way.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think negative 20% tenacity is as effective as people think it is.
Yeah.
Unless you have probably like at the very least 3 forms of crowd control of hard CC.
I mean, I don't think it's bad on Nautilus or Leona. I just don't think that typically you're going to be seeing this built as a way to extend CC. It's going to be built as a way to shut down a carry, right? You're not going into the game going, I'm building this on Leona because I need to CC someone longer, right? You're going, oh, fuck, I'm playing Leona and this is really good on me, and they have someone who's fed who I can, like, make them do less damage to me and CC for them for longer. Like,
yeah, which is, I think, the intent of the item.
Yeah, hopefully.
So that's really good. I guess I do think 30% is a lot.
Yeah.
For how little you have to do to get it to that value. But I think otherwise it's a really good item, like, for the game.
I mean, we have people in our Discord who are very smart people thinking that it was 1% per minute. And they're like, so obviously that would be a bad item. But the fact that people thought that was a possibility shows you how strong the 30% over a full minute is, like, rather than like 1% a minute, right? Like the fact that can even be confused shows like the power of like damage reduction, like in a short period of time. Like,
and I think that's the biggest issue with it is like 30% is just a lot, and I imagine that's after armor and everything already.
Yeah.
So I have a nightmare of hitting a tank with, not even a tank, hitting a character with this item plus Ninja Tabby as an auto attack based character, and you just healing them essentially.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think I don't know. I think that's enough discussion about that.
Yeah, let's move on to the second item, which is Hullbreaker, which we talked a little bit about on the last show because it came out right as we finished recording.
Yeah.
But the stats on Hullbreaker are it's 2,800 gold, 50 attack damage, 300 health, 150% base health regen, and its passive is called Boarding Party. While no allied champions are nearby, you gain 20 to 45 armor and magic resist, and 20% increased damage to towers. Nearby large minions gain 60 to 135 armor and magic resist and 200 increased damage to towers. So it has a Banner of Command, which is an old item for those who are newer to the game, type passive, plus it makes you tankier when you're alone.
Yeah, I think the one thing that's not listed is it gives your large minion a pirate hat.
That is crazy. That's the visual they decided to go for. Like that's the final.
I like it. I like it. It's funny. But I mean, what are your thoughts on the item? Because I think our thoughts differ.
I guess first of all, just to confirm, I believe the two passives are they both tied to the no nearby allies mechanic, or is it only the first part of it that's tied to that?
I think only the first part is.
I thought so.
I'm not 100% sure.
I'm just doing that based off how the English language works with periods.
Do you have the actual wording for it up?
Yeah, I mean, like it literally is. While no allied champions are nearby, you gain 20 to 45 armor and magic resist, and 20% increased damage to towers. Period. And then it goes into nearby large minions. Yada yada yada.
Are those two separate passives, or are they the same?
They're the same passive, but like there is a period between them. So it's I'm not sure.
I don't think. I think they're independent of one another based on the period.
Yeah, I'm assuming that it's like when no allied champions are near you, you get the armor and magic resist. But regardless, your minions are big.
Yeah, that's what I would assume.
Yeah, it's weird wording either way. But
yeah,
I think the main problem we had, Nick, when we discussed it briefly, was that this item is gold efficient naturally.
It is disgustingly gold efficient naturally. Yeah. It is. I had the numbers up. I did the numbers. I think it is 114% before any of the passives with just base stats.
Yep.
I believe it is around 140% with the low end of the 20 armor and 20 MR, and then up to like 177% gold efficient with 45, which is obviously based on level. So when you're level 18, the item is 177% gold efficient, and that doesn't include any of the bonus damage to turrets and any of the minion stuff.
Yeah, so that stuff's unquantifiable, of course.
But it's probably, like, if we were able to, probably getting close to 200% gold efficient. Like,
yeah.
Pretty safely saying that. I think that's like issue number one. Obviously, items shouldn't be this gold efficient unless they're Medjai's. Right, and I think that's based on a stack, mechanic that doesn't exist for any other item in the game.
Some people would argue even Medjai's shouldn't be that gold efficient.
I don't think it should be either, but I think that's the only one I would accept. I think around like 120% is probably the high limit. I think that's probably like, okay, anything beyond this is a problematic item. So I think that's issue number one. Issue number two, I'm not a huge fan of split pushing. I think it kind of takes away from team fighting, which is to me the most interesting part of the game. I think anything that reduces the number of the frequency of team fightings is something that is not going to be good for the game. And I think it just sort of like this particular item kind of rewards playing a style that isn't something that I find enjoyable. Yeah. Like no one come near me at all. Like period. I'm gonna stay in this lane for the entire game. I'm gonna push it down, and they can't reply to me because I have this like item that makes me super tanky. And then sorry to kind of take over hijack this section. I think my final issue is that I really don't like that the item strength results in minions that are harder for champions to kill. The current wording indicates that the large minion just gets armor and MR, not that it's tanky versus towers. it's just tanky. And I think that's something that is really frustrating to me. I personally, I hate the Baron buff that minions receive when you have it. I think it's not. Obviously, I know what exists. So the games could be, could be closed
they can
out.
end it,
So the games aren't 90 minutes long like they used to be. I just don't find it fun for a character to sit behind their minion, buffing it up. You can't interact with their champion because they just disengage and the minion still pushes. And then it's hard for you to kill the minion because it's been buffed up for so long. So I guess that's like my 3 big issues with the item.
Yeah.
Because I guess that's like kind of the item as a whole. I don't know if I like anything about the item.
Yeah. So in general, I guess the way I would look at this from a gameplay design perspective is that typically bruiser characters do build gold efficient items, right? AD carries build the most gold efficient items in the game, typically, followed by bruisers, followed by mages, followed by, I guess, like, supports are in there somewhere. I actually don't know where supports
are probably pretty high.
Yeah, but all their items do have very good actives, so typically if you have a really good actives, like, your gold efficiency on stats is lower, right? That's why tank items are, I don't think there's a single tank item that is gold efficient based off stats. Most of them are like, Deadman's being the worst offender, where it's 60% scaling up to 80% at max stacks, right? With current, like, tank items are just super not gold efficient. So it makes sense that this item is gold efficient with its stats because it is built on bruiser type characters, split pushers, if you will. I have lots of gripes with it. I think in its current state, it will be built on every single split pusher in the game every game.
Yep.
It's just too gold efficient. It's too good. There's no real way of countering it. I would love to see some sort of mechanic where, yeah, you get the active when no allied characters are near, but I would love to see that active reduced the more enemy characters are near or something like that. So, like, it feels like your best bet is one person just goes and deals with them and just tries to hold them, but it's not like you get rewarded for sending multiple people to deal with them. There's no way to counter this item's active other than maybe your character also builds this item and then you negate it, right? It feels bad in the fact that, like, yeah, there's no real counter to it, I guess. I also have an issue that, once again, I don't know how this works. I haven't played with it yet, but if it works tangentially with Baron, then I'm pissed. If Baron cannon minions get the range buff, the damage buff, the tanky buff, and do double damage now, I don't know what the fuck's going on, man. Like,
I don't know how it wouldn't, though. That kind of seems it kind of seems like it just has to, right?
Yeah. Like, that's what I mean as well. Like, it feels like there's no way it doesn't work like that. But holy fuck, man, those Baron Caddy minions already do so much damage to towers. Imagine them doing double damage. They're harder to kill by, like, upwards of 140 magic resistant armor. Like, that's it feels so unfun. Like, all that it feels not very good. This item probably needs to have its its passive reduced by a fair bit. Honestly, I think even removing the nearby large minion thing would be absolutely fine, personally. But we'll have to see.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of hard to like have a definitive fix for something that's not out yet.
Yeah, of course. Like, we're definitely judging this too early, but once again, we're playing from the perspective of Banner of Command was not healthy for the game, was fucking annoying as fuck to play against, and got removed because they decided it wasn't good for the game. And this is a pseudo version of Banner of Command in a very stat efficient item form. Yeah. Rather than having to waste a summoner spell for Banner of Command.
Oh, sorry,
exactly. But what was the summoner spell? Was there a summoner spell? Am I crazy?
I mean, Fortify?
Rally is what I was thinking of, sorry.
Oh god, Rally. That's old as fuck.
Yeah, sorry.
I guess Fortify, word for turrets.
Yeah, Banner of Command was the item, sorry. My apologies. But yeah, they're like very similar to how Rally worked in, like, Season 1. Like, promoting minions has not been a good thing for League of Legends overall.
Yeah, I think the only exception personally is ZZ Rot. I think that was a fine item because it didn't have great stats. It had a pretty good active that was counterable because of its short range, but if left unchecked, it was obviously very powerful.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way that items like this have to work, is that you should be able to counter it, but if you don't, they're going to shred turrets.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to do it, but yeah, I agree. There doesn't seem to be any like current counterplay for it, and it leads to a very very frustrating style of play to for I think honestly 9 of the 10 players in the game.
Yeah.
I don't think it's fun for anyone except for the person split pushing.
Like, I don't think it's a big improvement, but what if it was like you had even more increased damage to turrets and you made minions even stronger, but only while there was no characters nearby you? Like, that's still the split push thing, right? But at least you counter it by going and matching them. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like I just want a tangential way to, or not tangential, I just want like a tangible way to deal with this, right? Because right now it sounds like as a top laner who like plays split push versus split push, my way of playing versus them is I go in and I fucking sit there and just take it. Like, I just fucking just take a beating while they beat the shit out of my tower and are way tankier than they should be. Like,
I think you have to tie. I think you have to tie the minion strength to the enemy team and not the allied team. I mean, I think Sanguine Blade was an excellent example of this. I don't think it got purchased, very frequently. It was too niche. But the fact that you could send 2 people and, suddenly Sanguine Blade went from being like 150% gold efficient to what, like 85%?
Yeah.
Was like definitely the way to handle that. And it puts proactivity on the side of the enemy rather than the person who just buys the item and sits there.
Oh, for sure.
So
yeah, that's interesting. Like, once again, these items aren't out. We obviously don't know. Like, who knows? They might even get number adjustments before they go to live. It sounds like they're ready to be shipped, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're changed pretty intensely over the next couple weeks.
Yep. Yeah.
Awesome.
I agree.